Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave. But unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country, but unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
It's Meals on Wheels. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
is the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. With a lot of hockey and baseball to a little BS. It's the BS Sports Show with Brendan Azoff and Stefan Rosner on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. My name is Brendan Azoff. Joining me in just a moment is Stefan Rosner. We got a great show planned today. We got two great guests. At first, at 9:15, we have Ethan Carter, who covers the St. Louis Blues for the Hockey Writers. And later on at 10:15, we have Mike Scudiero, who's the host of the Yapping Yankees podcast. I'm sure a lot of you Yankees fans follow him on Twitter. So stay with us. We've got two great interviews and a lot of MLB and NHL action to get into.
It's going to be a lot of fun this episode. And, no hat today. I'm going with no hat. Got a nice fresh haircut. Wanted to show it off to the world. So here it is. Don't go at me on Twitter and make fun of it. I'm confident. So you got a haircut as well. So we both look good.
I think we wanted to prep for this episode. We both got a little bit of a comb over going. So
Yes,
great
sir.
start early on. We haven't even started talking yet. And I'm going to let you kick things off with the Stanley Cup Final. It's in full swing. And it's been fun the first two games. Very close and a lot of hitting.
Oh, tell me about it. That's how you have to play in the Stanley Cup Finals. Right now, it's 1-1 between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars. Game one, though, was all Dallas for the first and second period. They won that game 4-1. Khudobin starts 35 of 36. Heavy hitting, like you said, though, 56 to 50 bolts. I mean, you got to lay the body. You have to do it you got to do it. But the Lightning dominated in the third period. And, you're waiting for this team to wake up. They had one day off. It's tiring, get back into the swing of things in a big game. They outshot the Stars 22-2 in the third period. 22-2. And Khudobin stands tall is what he's done the whole entire playoff run. I want to talk about Alexiak's shot in that game. Defenseman, man. We see so many defensemen they could score too. It's not just the offense, and it was a snipe. But, is this a case of the Lightning being tired in game one? And you looked at the Islanders when they had one day off compared to the Lightning. I think who had 6. And the Islanders got killed, and it was 8-2. Very embarrassing. But after the game, John Cooper said, we just took advantage of a tired team. And then we see, that same thing happened to them. They have one day off, no travel involved because they're already in Edmonton. But the Stars had 4 days off, and you saw them get off to a really slow start. I think they had 4 or 5 shots in the first period. They got maybe a little bit in the second, but they finally woke up in the third. It was just, too much to get back from, and Dallas really controlled that game. But, Brennan, on to game two, a much different story.
Yeah, game two was a much different story, especially with the start. Obviously, like you said, Dallas came out in game one and really got on Tampa Bay, and in game two it was the opposite way. But the one thing that was constant was the hitting, and there were 106 hits combined in game one. There was 101 hits combined in game two. So the physicality in this series has been phenomenal to watch. But Tampa Bay, 3 goals in the first period, 2 of which came on the power play. And their power play was, I think, 0 for 14 going into that game over the last 14. They've been struggling, and they said they made adjustments, and they were evident early on. Braden Point and Andre Palat get the first 2 goals, both on the power play, and Kevin Shattenkirk adds the third. And when the period started, it looked even. Dallas had a great chance with Radulov, and you were like, okay, maybe Dallas is for real. They're going to take over this game too. And Tampa Bay got an early power play, capitalized, and just used that momentum early on. But the rest of the game was a little more up for grabs as Dallas scored the next 2, wound up losing 3-2, which I want to say I called that score. I said it would be an OT, but I did get the final score right. But the unnecessary penalties were really what did Dallas in this game. And I watched it, and, Klingberg scored, Janmark scored, so 2 guys that have been very prevalent for Dallas throughout. And it was interesting to watch the game unfold because you're sitting here going, Tampa Bay looks so good, but Dallas is able to control it and bounce back. And I think this series is going to see a lot of that, where you're going to have a lot of momentum swings, and whichever team can capitalize the most when they have momentum is going to be the team that's lifting the Stanley Cup at the end.
Yeah, just go back to game one real quick. The goals that the Stars scored, Vasilevsky did not give up a goal like that at all in the round against the Islanders. I was watching going, oh, if only I had done that, games 2. It was crazy to see that, Vasilevsky, as good as he is vulnerable. One shot snuck underneath his arm. Very hard save to make. But that's a save that Vasilevsky made every single night against the Islanders in those wins that they had. So it was very interesting to see how, this Dallas Stars team is for real. I think, I really want the Stars to win for Pavelski. It's been such a long time. He comes to this team after leaving the San Jose Sharks, and you're just like, okay, let's get him a cup. Another reason, Khudobin. Yes, Vasilevsky's your number one. He's been excellent, but a guy that led the league in save percentage at .930, has never started in a playoff game. He's a career backup, comes in and gets the jobs done. They're in the Stanley Cup Finals. For him to win, I mean, you just love it. You can't call the Stars really an underdog because they came close. They've been a good team, but it's the fact that I don't think many expected them to get past the Avalanche. Many didn't expect them to get past the qualifying rounds, and just the fact that they're there. Tampa, you expected. At times, it didn't. They dominated in their series, games wise, but all those games against Columbus, tough OT games, against Boston, a few OT games, tough battles, against the Islanders, even though they won 4-2, it was still a tough battle after game one. But for Dallas, I really want them to win this just for Pavelski and Khudobin. But for the Lightning, it's their time. And you're seeing for both these teams, it's their time for both teams. They haven't won. The Lightning have been there closer. 5 years ago they made it, but it's just been these two franchises. It's now or never, I think, for them. And it's been a great series thus far.
It really has, and I knew we were going to hear, Vasilevsky let in a couple of soft goals. He didn't do that against the Islanders. I was waiting for you to say it because I knew it was going to come. And Kiviranta was the one that scored that soft goal, the third goal to put them up 3-1 in game one. But game two, Tampa did bounce back. Vasilevsky bounced back, stopped 27-29. Khudobin sharp again, 28-31. But the series has, long and grinded out written all over it. I said originally Dallas in 6. I'm going to stand by that, but I don't think it goes shorter than 6 or 7 games. And why would you want it? This is the last time we're going to see hockey, and who knows how long. We'll get to that later. But let it go on for a little bit.
Yeah, before we get to our guest tonight, one thing about game 2 is the fact that the Stars took penalties, but they were from most of them, 2 out of 3 at least, were from veteran players that can't take penalties in that situation. So I know Klingberg had a hooking call in the third period. Sagan had a tripping call later in the third, but the first one was Alexiak, a roughing against Pat Maroon, which was just such a dumb, boneheaded penalty to take. And, that's all great in the regular season or in a game you're dominating. But in a game where you're already trailing, you can't be doing stupid stuff. That's how you find your way on the bench, especially after Alexiak had a great game 1. Doing that in game 2, that's just a rough. Again, these are not rookies making mistakes. We saw a rookie for Vegas, right? Whitecloud, what was his name?
Whitecloud, yep.
Whitecloud's in the box, crying at the end. They lost. That's a rookie though in a big situation, taking a penalty. Can you live with that? It sucks. Can you live with that? Yes. But when it's veterans doing it and it's costing you, they know better, and it can't really happen.
Yeah, and there's a difference between a delay a game where you accidentally shoot it over the glass and the dumb roughing penalty like Alexiak took. So they got to settle down. But a sign of a good team is a team that could bounce back. And going down 3-0, they could have caved in. They could have pulled Khudobin and said, all right, we're going to give this game. We'll be even in the series. But they didn't. They battled. So I think they sent the message to Tampa Bay, even in a loss, that there's going to be no easy wins for them like there were in that game 1 against the Islanders. So it's going to be a different type of battle. To segue into our guest, let's talk a little bit about the St. Louis Blues, obviously, because he covers them. And the biggest news they've made this offseason was signing Jim Montgomery, the former Dallas Stars head coach, to a 2-year deal to become an assistant. And this is a very under-the-radar move for a team that has a lot of veteran leadership. They're already very good and very talented. And now they're going to add another great mind behind that bench with Craig Berube.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. You never want to see somebody go through troubles. But the fact that, again, we talked about Bobby Ryan, they checked themselves in. They wanted to make themselves better. I mean, alcoholism, whatever the case, whatever you're struggling with, there's support. The NHL has done a very good job over the last couple of years with really, truly trying to help their players and staff. And again, a coach maybe you don't think about as, it just goes behind the bench, whatever. This is affecting his life at home too, not just on the rink and coaching. So it's great to see that he gets another chance again, a 2-year deal, be with Berube. It's going to be a great coaching staff. It's very good for a Blues team that needs to bounce back next year.
Definitely. And he was 61, 43, and 10 as a head coach for the Dallas Stars. So he had success. Obviously, he was in college and the NCAA before that. So somebody that made that leap, it's not an easy leap to make. A lot of coaches wind up going back and are not successful, but he has been. And, we wish him well in St. Louis and hope that he can continue to get better and be a great coach again in this league.
Yeah, and the other big storyline coming out of St. Louis is that Captain Alex Pietrangelo is being told to test for agency, as I'm pretty sure we'll get to it with Ethan Carter in a second of the Hockey Writers. They didn't lowball him, but it was like $2 million off of what he wanted. And he had 16 goals, 36 assists in 70 games this year. Career-wise, he's averaging 24 minutes and 38 seconds per game, so he eats the minutes. He's been the captain since 2016, and there are a few teams Edmonton, Philly, Vancouver, that he could be a much needed threat there. Philly has a lot of cap room like we talked about earlier. But without further ado, Ethan Carter of the Hockey Writers is joining us right now. Ethan, can you hear us?
Yeah.
How you doing, man? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. All right. So we'll get right into it. So first, what do the Blues have to do to get back to Stanley Cup contention?
Well, I think it all starts probably with re-signing Pietrangelo, and we don't know if that's going to happen. But I think if you look outside of that, you're not going to have Tarasenko for the first 5 months of next season, at least, I would say. We're probably looking around February, maybe, depending on when the season starts. Who knows how far into the season we will be at that point. I think you have to remake your decor around whether you get Pietrangelo back or not. So if you don't get him back, you're really looking at probably a top pairing of Parayko and Falk, or Marco Scandella jumps up with Colton Parayko. And then offensively, I think you got to get more scoring, because I think if you lose Tarasenko for the amount of time they're going to lose him, you got to get a guy in there that's going to score 20 for you. And that's probably a trade market guy or a low bargain free agent. Look at a veteran like Patrick Marleau if he wants to keep playing and play for a contender, or Ilya Kovalchuk, someone like that can come in there. I don't think either of those guys would score 20 depending on who they're playing with. But you got to get a guy in there that can score some goals, because they're going to lose a lot with Tarasenko. And I think the other thing that you look at is maybe adding a little bit more speed. So the Blues are not a very fast team. I think that's obvious at this point. If you get a guy in there like Jordan Kyrou, who's a big prospect who played some big minutes for them this season, you get a guy in there like that can skate on that third line probably. I think that would help. But it's all going to start with whether they re-sign Pietrangelo or not, and really how Binnington plays will be a big part of that.
Yeah, I completely agree, and you kind of segued into our next one for us. With Jake Allen now in Montreal, the Blues have kind of solidified that this is Jordan Binnington's team. How much faith does this group have in him after a kind of mediocre season and he struggled in the playoffs?
Well, I think this team is very confident in him because, he goes out and wins the Stanley Cup in 2019, right? But he follows it up, and he wasn't that good. He won a lot of games last year. He's won 54 games and 54 wins in 83 games in his early parts of his career now. His save percentage has stayed under 920 both seasons. Well, overall for his career in the first 3 seasons. His first season was absurd, how good it was. But
yep.
I think the team is very confident in him, and I think that starts with the coaching. I think the coaching staff really likes Binnington. He wasn't good in the playoff. He was so bad in the playoffs that Jake Allen had to come in, and Jake Allen was very good. But I think moving Allen was the right move, considering you need cap space to get Pietrangelo, because you move him, you still have 5.1 left. But I think, they like Binnington a lot. They're very confident. But Ville Husso as the backup should be interesting. I'm not sure how his game will translate to this level, but they're very confident in Binnington. And I think that this is his team, see what he does with it. And, he's got to get it going. He's got to be a tone setter for them. They aren't a team that's going to blow you out of the water like a Tampa Bay Lightning would, but he's got to play well next year if they want to have any chance in what's going to be a very competitive Central next year.
Do you think in the playoffs it was more maybe he had a little bit of an injury, or just a mental thing where he just wasn't seeing the puck well and his confidence kept going downhill as he played more games?
I think it's definitely a confidence thing with him, because you look at him, he kind of seems like he's a very confident guy. Some people might pass that off as cocky, but he's very confident in his ability. And I don't know, I think it could have been a situation where players were starting to figure him out. There was a lot of defensive breakdowns as well from the Blues in that Vancouver series, but I kind of feel like he might end up just being a very streaky goaltender rather than being a star that he could have become after the run in 2019. But I think it's probably a confidence thing, as well as the fact that maybe teams are starting to figure out his weaknesses a little bit more now than they knew back then.
Yeah, I mean, you see that in most sports, and we talk baseball later on in the show, but a hitter that comes up that no one knows anything about, they may struggle to get him out, but then after 1 year, it's like, all right, we know that he can't hit the high fastball, so we throw that, and they beat him. I mean, the same way in hockey, where you don't really know what Binnington's weakness is. He hops on the scene and is just absolutely incredible, but now you look back and tape and go, okay, maybe high blocker side's a weakness, and then they shoot there, and he's got to adjust. So hopefully next year, though, he adjusts for this team, because it's his team, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah, you're right on that.
Yep. So Alex Pietrangelo was told by the St. Louis Blues to test free agency. They seem to lowball him a little bit, which usually happens in a free agent negotiation process. Is there a chance he wants to return to the Blues, or is his time there finished?
So I approach this two different ways. I think he absolutely would like to return if it's possible, but it's very hard for them because you look at their free agency. They have Vince Dunn as a restricted free agent right now. I think they'd like to keep him despite the fact that he was very shaky in the bubble in Edmonton in the playoffs. But, I don't know if it's the right move for them to not try to get him on a discount because they do only have $5.15 million in cap space right now. Obviously they're going to make moves to try to get more cap to get him. But you look at Roman Yossi's contract. Roman Yossi just won the Norris last night. He's making $9 million. I'm not going anywhere near that. Like, I think Pietrangelo and Yossi are very similar. I think Yossi's a little bit better. Obviously, we've seen that over the last couple of years. And Pietrangelo is playing some of his best hockey. He played some of his best last season. But I think anything above like 8.75 is probably my limit. I don't think I'd go higher than that. And I think they're right to try to kind of get him on a discount. And I think that, honestly, I think they've seen some of his best hockey already. So how far do you want to go? Do you want to cripple your team for the future? I'm not so sure that they want to do that, but I'm not going anywhere near the $9 million that Yossi got.
So let's say that the Blues, get the cap space to sign him back, but it falls through and they can't. You mentioned Ilya Kovalchuk getting a score with Tarasenko going to be out, but who would be your top? Again, there's no Pietrangelo. Who would be the top player that they go after then with all that money that they have?
Well, I think their first priority is likely to try to get Vince Dunn back on probably a contract that's sitting around $3 million a year, I would say, for a young D-man who's shown a lot of offensive potential. But I think if you look at the free agency market and how that shakes out, it's kind of weak defensively in terms of the really high-end guys. I mean, Torrey Krug is there. That's a guy that they could possibly look at, get another offensive guy in the back end. Now, he's not going to be as good defensively as Pietrangelo is, which is what makes this so hard, is because Pietrangelo is a very sound player in all phases of the game, all three zones, 200 feet. He's very good on both ends, and he was very good offensively in the regular season. But, Torrey Krug's not really good enough defensively. If you want to replace – now, I don't know if they're going to actually go for a defenseman with that money, because I think you look at maybe a goal scorer like Mike Hoffman, who's a free agent from Florida. You could try to get him. But I think defensively, the way that they might go is Nico Mikkola and Scott Perunovich, both prospects that they could bring in there. So I'm assuming they won't spend too much money defensively on the free agent market. I think if they do have cap space and Pietrangelo leaves, I think they look at more of an offensive threat, get a guy there in the top six, possibly Tyler Toffoli, Mike Hoffman. Taylor Hall is a massive long shot. I don't see that happening at all. But that's just the way that the way they operate is very conservatively. So I think that they would not really try to get another high-end D-man like a Krug, who's one of the better ones in this market.
Lastly, before we let you go, why do you believe Jim Montgomery is a perfect fit alongside Craig Berube on this coaching staff?
Well, Jim Montgomery has a lot of experience. I mean, he was 61, 43, and 10 with Dallas. He was very good there. Obviously, he had some problems that arose during this season. And I have no doubt in my mind that the Stars would be in the same spot right now, no matter who the coach is. Now, that's not to take anything away from Rick Bowness. He's done a great job. We all know that he's a very experienced guy. But I think bringing on a former head coach and a former head coach who had success, which is what Montgomery had in his few seasons at Dallas, is huge. And I think that he's a very hard-nosed defensive type guy. He can come in and kind of drive the Blues style, the way that they like to play, physical style. And he can, do a lot of things for them in all phases of their operations. And I think Craig Berube has a great staff. And I think it's just going to continue. And now, how long is Montgomery here? Probably only a couple of years, because I think he'll get another shot at being a head coach in the NHL. But he's a great fit, and he can do a lot for the Blues style and the way that they want to coach. I think he fits in perfectly with everyone else on the staff.
Yeah, well, Ethan, I completely agree. And thank you very much for coming on the show with us. And we look forward to reading some of your next articles for the Hockey Writers.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too, man.
So like you said, Alex Pietrangelo is going to be a tough get for the St. Louis Blues, especially to keep him. I agree that they had to try to get a discount. And obviously Pietrangelo knows his worth. He's only 30 years old, so somebody will offer him around a 7-year deal, probably between 7 to 8.5 per. And that's going to be tough for the Blues to afford. And I think that the Philadelphia Flyers are a sneaky candidate. We talked about it earlier. They have a few defensemen that are free agents already in Haig and Myers are RFAs, and Justin Braun is a UFA. And they haven't talked to their two RFAs yet, haven't offered them anything. They're not going to offer Justin Braun something, so there's a lot of cap room on that back end, and a team that had lofty expectations come postseason time. They got hurt by the hiatus. They lost to the Islanders. I think that if they were to sign an Alex Pietrangelo type, they become one of the favorites in the East.
I mean, their problem was the defense. Carter Hart played phenomenal, but an Islanders team that really struggled to score during the regular season found ways to do it against the Flyers. And having a top guy like Pietrangelo is just a confidence booster for the rest of the group, despite also with his play. But, before we head to commercial break and all that, I just want to read a quote from Jordan Binnington about Pietrangelo. He's a pretty dynamic player at both ends of the ice. He'll score a big goal. He'll be out there at the last minute of the game competing. He works hard. He's a big player for us, one of the best players in the NHL. And I did read up that he wants to return. Like, he wants to be a Blue. But, contract, they've been talking. Like, it's not like this is the first time they've opened their mouths. They've been talking over the last year about getting extension. And, he said it sometimes it just doesn't work out with the flat cap. It makes everything so much more difficult. But, besides him leaving as a defenseman, he's leaving as a captain. And, he's a leader, and, we see it as a business. Hockey's a business, but taking the captain out of a room where he helped the team come back from being in the basement of the NHL to winning a cup for the city of St. Louis, I mean, that holds a lot. And to have a guy go because, you don't have the money or, you can't work something out, it's a tough pill to swallow for Blues fans and his teammates. Again, it would be hard for him as well. He's played his whole career with St. Louis. So, again, it's a tough thing. I would like to see him return. I don't want him to go to Philly because it makes the Metro just that much tougher. And, I mean, as a Ranger fan, an Islander fan, It's going to be hard as it is. Now you want to stockpile the toughest division in hockey even more. I mean, the Flyers can do it. They should, because they really need defense. That's their last pretty much piece. They got a great goaltender net. They got the scoring. They weren't really awake in the playoffs, but they have it. It's there. Now they just need a little bit more from the defense, and that would be a nice finishing touch. But, I mean, Edmonton as well, their problem is defense. They got Draisaitl, we'll get to later. McDavid. I mean, they have other depth guys that go around them, but they contribute. It's a problem is keeping the puck out of your own net is how you win in the NHL, and he'll help them as well.
I agree. And Edmonton, they have to go full out to get Pietrangelo. That's one of their biggest needs is defense, and he's one of the best defensemen in the league. When we come back from this commercial break, we're going to dive into the NHL awards, the Islanders elimination, and a lot of other stuff around the NHL. And please stay tuned because I got a lot of beef with the Hart Trophy nomination and winner. All right? Stay tuned.
The Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time. It's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I'll wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see. With an emoji. To stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. Feedthepig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the BS Sports Show, and we're going to dive straight into the NHL awards, which were announced last night before Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. And we'll start with Leon Draisaitl, who won the Hart Memorial Trophy and the Ted Lindsay Trophy as well. So he was the NHL MVP and the best player in the league as voted on by his peers. So a great night for Leon Draisaitl, a great season. I will say that 110 points, 43 goals, 67 assists. And I'll let you touch on it before I run on my little 30-second rant of reading off the advanced analytics over here.
Yeah, he got 44 points on the power play. I mean, that's a big bulk of his points, but you look at it as, Draisaitl plays in a team with McDavid, and it's very hard to, look at Edmonton and go, oh, it's McDavid's team, but Draisaitl reminds us over and over again that no, he is just as big a piece to this team and their success as McDavid is, and he's been unreal. And Brendan, you could dive into your advanced stats because I know as a Ranger fan, as someone who writes for the Rangers, Panarin had a hell of a season and maybe he got gypped. So let's hear what you have to say.
I was fine with Draisaitl winning the Ted Lindsay, but for the Hart Trophy, I thought it would have been McKinnon or Panarin just because they didn't have as many points, but they were the best players on their team, and they were the main reason why their teams had success and got to the postseason. And for McKinnon, he had a 40-point differential between him and the second best scorer. For Panarin, he was just one of the best players in the NHL, hands down. And when you look at him versus the Hart Trophy winner and Leon Draisaitl, his Corsi for percentage is 57.7, Draisaitl's is 52.8. His Fenwick, which measures even strength shots attempted, hit for Panarin, he's at 58.5, for Draisaitl 52. And this one, the goals for percentage, which to me stood out. So this is the percent of goals that are scored when he's on the ice for his team. For Leon Draisaitl, it's 59.65%. for Artemi Panarin's over 70%. So 70% of the goals were scored when Panarin was on the ice were for the Rangers. And for me, Draisaitl's downfall was his lack of defensive ability on the ice. And these stats show that he still won the Hart Trophy. It begs the question of, are these voters looking at just the points? Are they diving into these advanced stats? What's the criteria? But to me, when you weigh who is more valuable, Artemi Panarin and Nathan MacKinnon were both more valuable to their teams than Leon Draisaitl was.
Like I mentioned, he has McDavid.
Yep.
And you look at the other teams, and besides McKinnon, and this was in the I know that this award doesn't count for the playoffs, but you look at the regular season and the playoffs. When he was hurt, the team struggled. McKinnon comes back red hot, goes off. In the playoffs, it was pretty much just McKinnon. For the most part, yes, they got scoring. Kadri scored. They scored. But it's McKinnon's show, and he's a real reason why they made it as far as they did. You look at the Rangers. The Rangers are not in the expanded playoffs. They're not even close. They might be with Detroit and the Kings down below looking up in the cellar if he's not there. Yes, Zibanejad, incredible year, but they don't even play together. And Panarin he signs over, what, he get 11-something a year?
Yep.
They can make money, and he did not disappoint. And he was not the only reason, but
the main one.
He was the main reason why this Rangers team got a chance to play some. Their postseason run wasn't that far.
It was valuable experience.
Valuable experience. They got on the golf course rather quickly, so it's good for their game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Panarin. I agree with you that Panarin should have won that award. You said, did they look at the advanced stats? Clearly, they did not, because if they looked at the advanced stats, they would see that Panarin had the better stats, but they elect to go with Draisaitl. And at the end of the day, we don't have a say, but we could talk about it.
I mean, listen, Draisaitl had a great season. I'm not trying to take that away from him.
Exactly.
And yes, I know we're going to have the Oilers fans that say, oh, he doesn't play with McDavid, but they do on the power play. And when they need a goal, they put them together. So he doesn't start with him, but they wind up playing together at some points in every game. And that always helps. And obviously when you had, I think there were 5 or 6 voters that had Draisaitl first and McDavid second. Well, if you're going to have those two players first and second, it's kind of, there's no point, because if
that's not the point of the award,
team, then they're obviously not valuable. They're both equally as valuable. So somebody else is going to have to be the most valuable player.
They should split the award.
I mean, that's how the voting process seemed to work. And it's not even like it was close. Draisaitl won in a landslide, which is kind of surprising because McKinnon is very good. So is Artemi Panarin. And I just would love to hear some of the reasonings. I know some writers put out their reasonings, and I like when they do that, just being transparent. Obviously, you couldn't go wrong. All 3 of these guys deserve to win an award. So if you have voted Draisaitl and you can explain why and give me a good reasoning, I'm all for it. But for the guys that put Draisaitl and McDavid 1-2, I don't know what season they were watching.
McDavid was hurt, right? He missed a good amount of time. McKinnon was hurt. He missed a good amount of time. Panarin and Draisaitl were healthy the whole year. It's tough. I mean, yeah, if they want to reach out to you and explain themselves, I have his phone number. I can give it to you after. But, we can move on now because, again, we could talk about it at the end of the day. Draisaitl wins it. Great for, I'm pretty sure he's German too. So great for the
first
country.
German player to win that.
That's awesome. I mean, the other German that I know is Thomas Greiss, and he's not winning a Hart anytime soon. Let's move on. Norris Trophy or Vet. Yeah, Jennings. He's been good, and he's going to leave the island. And we get to that on a later episode when that does happen. But let's move on to the Norris. It looked like John Carlson was going to win this when the season started. Months in, it was like, oh my God, Carlson, another point, another goal, another assist, racking up. And then you look at Roman Josi, 16 goals, 45 assists, 69 points. Carlson did end the year with 75, but you look at this Nashville team where they had a goalie in Pecorine underperform. Turris was terrible to the point where it's not even worth even talking about him. He did nothing. Duchesne comes over, signs a big contract, does absolutely nothing. Arvidsson in a down year. I think he scored under 20 goals. It was a terrible year for Nashville, yet they found themselves in the playoffs. And that's what this award is about. It's how valuable you are to your team. He's the best defenseman in the league. And he is the only reason that Nashville made it into the playoffs. The only reason. You look at the Capitals and Carlson, he had a great year. But look who's around him.
Yep.
You have Holtby, who struggled, but you have Samsonov had a great time. You have Ovechkin, you have Backstrom, Wilson, Kuznetsov, Oshie. You look at Nashville. none of their stars showed up this season. The only one that showed up was Yossi, and he did it all, and they made it to the playoffs, and he was well deserving of this award. I like that they went this route.
So do I. I love the fact that I heard Roman Yossi's name get mentioned when they said the Norris Trophy winner is, and I was really nervous it was going to be Carlson. And the Norris Trophy a lot of times gets skewed because they go, oh, which defenseman had the most points? It's about defense. It's the best defenseman in the league.
Not
And
best
Roman
offensive
Josi,
defenseman.
exactly. If it was the best offensive defenseman in the league, sure, go most points. But Roman Josi was a phenomenal offensive defenseman as well as defensive defenseman. And like you said, he's playing top minutes. He's always out there when Nashville needs to stop on. And for me, he's the last 2 or 3 years been one of the smoothest skating, best defenders in the league. And now he finally gets his recognition. So all around game for a defenseman, Roman Josi this year was the best one, and they got this one right.
You just want to hope that next year he doesn't have to be this good. Yes, he's going to be this good. He's consistent, but if Nashville doesn't wake up again next year, I mean, with the guys they have, they should be winning. I know Pecorine may be on his way out sooner than later, but Saros is a great backup, 5'11". Shout out to the small goalies. Always love doing it. But it's like, yes, Yossi deserved this. I have no problems there. Carlson, great year. Nothing. I mean, I don't know how much these awards weigh on you. Like, did Carlson go in going, well, if I didn't win this, then, I hate my life. Screw Ovechkin. Like, he's not
definitely
thinking
not.
that.
Panarin, there was posted on his Instagram him playing pool during the award ceremony.
Oh, that's what he did. He should have been
Yeah.
kicking like cardboard boxes and with his knee, just getting the work in there. That'd have been great. But yeah, Yossi, well deserving. Let's move on to the goaltenders. The Vezina.
Stefan's favorite award. Here we go.
You look at these, and obviously there's a few goalies that could have won this, but perfect choice was Connor Hellebuck. 31, 21, and 5, 2.57 goals against average, 922 save, 6 shutouts on a Winnipeg Jets team that started the year off losing Bufflin. He's gone. They struggled defensively, but didn't matter because Hellebuck was ready to go each game, helping them make the playoffs as well. And you look at the other two goalies who were up for it. You have Andrei Vasilevsky, who's playing in the Cup Finals right now. 35, 14, and 3, 2.56 goals against average, 917 save, and 3 shutouts. And then Tuukka Rask, who was on the best team in hockey when the regular season came to close, the President winners, Boston Bruins, 26, 8, and 6, 2.12 goals against average, 925 save, 5 shutouts. But take Hellebuck and put him a lot higher on this list because Vasilevsky plays on one of the best teams in the NHL, maybe of all time, the way last year with the points that they got and their runs they went on. You look at Tuukka Rask with the Bruins, the best team. I mean, it's not even close to the skill around them that he had to face. I mean, a few years ago with Gibson on the Ducks, got held up every night was, he's got to stop 55 or 60 shots for them to even get a chance. And he had incredible numbers. So you got to give credits to those guys. Hellebuck battled this year. They faced a lot of adversity, this Winnipeg Jets team, and really Tampa and Boston did not. They have amazing stats, don't get me wrong, but Connor Hellebuck had a phenomenal year and did it with a lot less talent around him, which is why he is deserving of the Vezina.
Yep, and shout out to the American goaltenders right there. Connor Hellebuck getting a Vezina trophy. And I will say this. I thought that Tuukka Rask was going to win this award, and then I kind of dove into the numbers, and I believe that because Yaroslav Halak played so well under the same defensive structure and everything that Tuukka Rask did, that kind of took away from his merit in this award. Not in the playoffs, no. But during the regular season, they won, was it the Jennings with the best duo, right? Yep. They won that award, and rightfully so. They were both fantastic. But I think that because the backup came in and played equally as stellar as the starter did there, it didn't do him well in this vote. And because Connor Hellebuck was their only option, and he was basically their best player from start to finish this year in Winnipeg, he was the rightful winner for the Vezina.
Yeah, I completely agree. And let's move on to the last award, the Calder Trophy. Brendan, you could kick it off. 2 amazing, young, offensively, but also defensively talented defensemen are up for the Calder, and, your man wins it.
Well, I thought that Cale Makar was going to win it from the beginning. Just the way he came into the postseason last year and played, unreal.
That was a goal. His first goal was crazy.
Smooth skater. His shot's great. And you play alongside McKinnon, and that you have that safety valve when you could just move the puck to somebody that could also carry it. And he just plays with amazing confidence, 12 goals, 38 assists, 50 points on the season. And the runner-up was Quinn Hughes, and he gave him a run for his money. Finished with 53 points and played well, but did play in 11 more games because Cale Makar missed time with an injury. So Cale Makar was the right choice, and shout out to whoever gave Adam Fox that one first place vote. Adam Fox deserved it. Another great rookie season there. The defense in this league, young and good.
You talk about the award. It's not the best offensively talented defense when you talk about the Norris. It's defense. And for these young players, especially the defense that we see with Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar, I can't even talk to the extent of their vision.
Yeah.
When they make the key plays in the defensive zone, but their vision to look up the ice. I mean, Fox include him as well. Their ability to get those passes across the ring to their guys in split seconds, not even thinking at all, is so impressive. It's phenomenal. And the thing is, they're so young that they're going to be around for the next 10 to 15, maybe 20 years playing. And again, young talent is something that this league is getting faster and younger as the years go on. To have two guys like that who are playing very well, and what are they, 23 maybe?
I think they're younger than that.
23. These two will definitely, again with Fox, will be running. I guarantee Makar's going to win a Norris when it's all said and done. Hughes will win a Norris, and we can even see.
I will say this right now. I think that
on the record,
5 years from now at the earliest, because I want to give myself a little leeway. The three defensemen who finished in the top four for the Calder Trophy will be the three finalists for the Norris Trophy. I think you're going to see a Norris Trophy where it's Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, and Adam Fox are the three finalists.
All right, you heard it here first on the BS Sports Show. I'm
telling you.
9:46 p.m. on September 22nd, 2020, Eastern Standard Time.
Play this clip back in 5 years. If that happens and I don't have a job in sports by then, God bless.
Well, at least you would have gotten this right.
Exactly. I could go to my grave to saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to some crazy news. And, Gary Bettman's, you love him or you hate him. Most people hate him. I think they had fake booing when he spoke. It's just something he walks up to the podium and goes like this. Like he knows it's coming, and it is what it is. Commissioners get a lot of heat in sports. He's done a great job though with the bubble and everything they've done this year. But he wants to play 82 games next season, Brendan. But wait, he doesn't care when it starts. Now we're looking at, it's going to seem like it's either going to start the beginning of December or beginning of January. And this is a sport that goes from September, you have preseason September, season starts in October and goes to April. So November, December, January. That's 6 months before playoffs. I have to count. I'm sorry. That's 6 months. I still count on my fingers. 6 months though, before playoffs. So you're going to start the season in January. You're going to have, it's going to go to when it's going now. But that means, when are you going to get back on track for hockey season being October to April plus play? You will never.
No,
if you continue to
at
do
least
this.
5 years.
I think personally what they should do is, given the fact of how successful I think this was a success. 0 positive tests. You did a great job. Give the players the time off. Do a shortened season. We saw a shortened season after, was it 20?
The lockout?
Well, after the lockout, yeah. We saw a shortened season, 41 games. Where everyone's like, oh, it's not going to matter. It's stupid. Same thing with COVID. Like, it's the COVID Cup. But at the end of the day, it wasn't. Who's thinking about that right now, about the lockout? No, you just thought that, okay, the Blackhawks won. It was the Blackhawks that won?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty
sure
they had
one.
like a 23 point game point streak that year too.
Crazy. But right now, you have to think back and go, oh, yeah, they only play. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. I think that if you continue to do another 82 games in playoffs, that's now your hockey season is now this summer.
Yeah, that becomes the interesting point now. Are they willing to alter the season? It's always been September preseason, October, and then you go until June. Are they willing to push it back since they've had success, right? I mean, people are watching it in the summer. You're already in the warmer markets. So are you willing to alter that? Is that a possibility? Because the only way you can get 82 games in, if you start at the end of December, early January, and that's if you start then, is you're going to go through the summer and then you're going to have to do it again. So I think that if they want to go back to October, their best bet is to do a shortened season, end it sometime in early to late mid-July maybe. Then you have a month and a half off, start in September and go to October, and then you're back. Then your cycle's back. But it also depends on if COVID resurfaces, if the fans are allowed back, because it's all a money-making scheme in the end for the NHL. So I think that's where Bettman's coming from. If they could have fans, they want 82 games.
So what about though the arenas? You're not going to have a bubble every year. I mean, it did work. Let's say COVID goes away magically January. There's no more COVID. Fans can go to arenas. But now you have to look at the availability. It's not just hockey. You got basketball in most some arenas. You have concerts. And all that stuff was canceled. And the NHL did a bubble, which it didn't matter. But now all those concerts that were canceled are going to be made up, I would think, or at least a few of them. Now you got to go with the league and the other sports. If you keep it back into October until April, May, June with playoffs, then, It lets the venues figure out, okay, when they can do their concerts, when they can do that. But if you're going to try to squeeze in 82 games, that's less off days. That's less time for the arenas to make more money. I really think that 41, it sucks. We want a full season, don't get me wrong. But given the situation and the finances, and also I think if you're going to try to do 82 games in that span, if you're going to try to rush it, less off days, all that stuff, you're going to see injuries rack up. You're going to see these things. I mean, you look at the NFL right now, they didn't have a preseason. Now everyone's just dropping. Everyone's hurt. I mean, I know the Giants, 49ers, people are just dropping like flies. And obviously for us, we don't think preseason's that important, but it's the amount of playing. We saw, which we'll get to now, the Islanders got eliminated in 6 games, but they had some injury scares that happened. You know, you're telling me now that you're going to have a guy come off injury who had a broken wrist, we'll talk to in a second, and then you're going to put him into a full 82-game grind again rather than giving them the time off. The only reason the NHL was able to do this is because the players bought in to leaving all their families, the bubble life, which other sports, we're talking later, baseball, they don't want to do that. Basketball was really against it, but they did it anyway. Football, you can't. All the sacrifices they made, that way the NHL could play, but also for the NHL to make money. Yes, 82 games you want to see, but let them have the off time to heal, be with their families. I mean, Matt Martin and the Islanders left when his daughter was 10 days old. Yep. Comes back, she's 2 months old. Now, maybe that doesn't seem like a lot to some people, but I just bought a puppy, right? And after 2 weeks, the puppy's doubled in size. I'm like, oh, wow. I remember when she was young. I mean, for a kid, you obviously it's not the same, but you're leaving, and now 2 months and 10 days, the daughter doesn't know who he is. And that's a hard thing for many people to understand. It's like you're coming back home. Your dogs miss you. Your wives, your family misses you. Your kids who you haven't seen miss you a lot. And now you're going to put them into an 82-game schedule with, again, less off days for them to see their family. That's a tough sell, given the fact that the NHL players did everything you asked for and more to keep it safe and make it competitive. So, you know.
I agree, but we'll move on now. And the Islanders are eliminated in 6 games. Thank you. I didn't want to have to hear that. So they finally succumbed to a better team. And I think in the end, that's just what it was. Tampa Bay had more scores than they did. I know you're going to touch on that in a second. And obviously that's going to be a big key for this offseason for the Islanders is getting somebody around Matt Barzal. And Ethan talked about the St. Louis Blues trying to add Mike Hoffman. I know you've been high on him for the Islanders to get. So I think that in the end, Tampa was just all around the better team, and they're better than pretty much every other team in the league. That's why they are where they are. Yeah. So the Islanders put up a valiant fight. They got farther than they have in a long, long time, and they gave the Islanders fans a lot to be happy about this season.
That's for sure. I mean, you know, they get eliminated in 6 games, and in that last game, it was tough because the whole entire after game 1, the Islanders scored the first goal in 5 consecutive games. And for me, the key, I think it was game 5 going 6. I typed up an article. I said the biggest key is getting the second goal. That's fine. You score first, great, get the momentum. But then it seems like every time they do that, Tampa goes, we're supposed to play now. There we go. Turn it up into gear. They score that tying goal, and then it's their game. And the Islanders can't get back to their game. They fight. They survive. That's pretty much what this series was. The games that they won, they still survived. They had no business winning these games. Varlamov played out of his mind in most of the games. But in game 6, he had a slip-up that really changed the outcome of this game, and it was a rebound goal off a shot by Eric Chernak at the point. Yes, his defenseman did not pick up Hedman, who absolutely killed the Islanders this series. He scored 4 in the series, 9 in the playoffs up to that point. I don't think he scored yet in the Stanley Cup Final, you know, I guess Dallas knows, hey, look what he did against the Islanders. Let's not let him do that. But he dominated. But Varlamov, it was a simple shot where he either could have held on or pushed it to the corner, shoots the rebound right out, and Hedman, this is not the first time he's done this, comes in on a rebound, wide open, all alone, and scores. And that really, he hasn't done that all season, all playoffs, Varlamov, and that was the worst time to do that because it's now 1-1, and then you battle, they go to overtime. Cirelli wins it on one of the, I don't want to say lucky because they made a great play to get there, but the shot goes off the post, off the far post, rolls under Varlamov, hits off his skate and goes in. And you watch the replay. Cirelli celebrates when he hits the post. It's not actually in yet. Then he's looking, goes, yeah, scored. And there goes the season. It was a tough pill to swallow. But like you said, the Islanders lost to, there's a reason why Tampa's in the Stanley Cup Finals because they are one of the best teams in the league. The Islanders did not have the same offensive prowess that they have. They didn't have the offensive scoring from the defenseman group. Vasilevsky's in a league of his own. Well, he's with, Hellebuck and Rask up there and Gibson, but Varlamov played out of his mind. all the credit to this team for fighting, but 2 key injuries happened in this series, and unreal what hockey players are just built. When we talked with Carlson a couple years ago playing with a broken ankle in the playoffs, it's just a different breed of human beings and players. Pelech missed game 6 because in game 5 he broke his wrist. But he stays in and he played with it. And in hockey, you sort of need your wrist to be productive. He plays through that, a broken wrist. He can't play in game 6. We didn't know that he got hurt. It wasn't even noticeable in game 5 that he was hurt. I mean, the adrenaline was pumping. Like, that for a fact. And he's going to have surgery. Cizikas had a detached retina, and that was the reason he missed game 5 and game 6. Now, I don't know if he played through into the end of game 4. I'm going to guess he did because I don't remember him leaving the game. He might have. I'll have to check, but I don't think he left the game. It's just crazy. And I hope for the eye's sake, we've seen injuries. Kyle Oposo, former Islander, eye injury. Manny Malhotra a couple years ago. Mark Stahl, which was really derailed his career. I mean, if that's a fair thing to say. And the Cizikas and Pelech will both have surgery. But it's tough. Let's move on to some exciting things, though, because a goal by Matthias Tenby, a former, I'm pretty sure he played for the Devils. Maybe he played for a few other teams. A goal that he scored February 13th of 2020 has now resurfaced. Who knows why, but we're glad it did because it is absolutely filthy.
Yeah, it might be the best shootout goal I've ever seen. I know Pavel Datsyuk has something to say about that, Patrick Kane as well, even TJ Oshie. But, I mean, a backhand chip to himself and then out of midair bats it past the goaltender. First of all, I don't know if you'll ever see it attempted in the NHL, but it probably will be. We've said the same thing about the Michigan and all that stuff, and now it's starting to make its way as more skilled players come in. But I don't even know if it's legal, right? Like, I don't know what the ruling is there, but one of the craziest, just absolute filth to be able to chip it to yourself and bat it in all in one motion. The goalie had no time to move.
The ability to do that's one thing. The confidence to do that is another. It's not like it wasn't an all-star game, right? This was a legit game.
Yeah. It looks like a legitimate game.
Yeah, and, I think back to a goal, why I remember the most useless things in life. But a couple of years ago, Damian Brunner, who played, it was his rookie season for the Detroit Red Wings. He scores one of the filthiest shootout goals I've ever seen. He pulled it Datsyuk. He pretty much skated in, skid stop, and pulled it back and scored. I don't know if it's legal in today's NHL, but that was filthy. But this goal, I mean, this is the best goal I've seen in a shootout.
It tops it. It definitely does. And before we touch on Jimmy Howard, I want to go to the Lundqvist thing quickly because as a Rangers fan, this made me tear up a little bit when I heard this news. And apparently Libor Hayek was quoted by a Czech newspaper telling them that after they lost their final game against Carolina, Henrik Lundqvist said he didn't know what would happen to him if the Rangers were going to buy him out or if he was going to go somewhere else. And basically that signifies that his time in New York's over. And if it is, what a 15-year run it was. The Vezina Trophy, 10 straight top 6 Vezina finishes, just absolutely unreal. And I mean, it says that Lundqvist told his teammates goodbye. Now, we don't know if this is accurate, right? It could have been, he could have been wrong. It could have just been Lundqvist in the moment saying it because he knows the reality of the situation with Shesterkin and Georgiev there. There's no definitive, credibility here, but I can't believe that after all we've seen, it really does look like it's coming to an end. And I mean, granted, Shesterkin being there does help it a little bit more because you're like, right, we're losing. We're losing probably the greatest Rangers goaltender ever, and we're gonna go to a pretty reliable.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know, but just I can't imagine him playing somewhere else. And selfishly, I'm hoping he retires. Unselfishly, I'm hoping he goes to a contender.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it as an Islander fan, but growing up as a goaltender, watching him, I despise the Rangers, obviously, but Lundqvist was someone I always had the utmost respect for. And like I said, I do hope he retires because I can't picture him playing anywhere else, especially if it's not going to be a starting job, which it more than likely will not be.
Yep. And
it just makes me think back to when Brodeur left the Devils, another guy I looked up to, idolized. They didn't want him anymore. And instead of retiring with a little bit left to go in the season, they trade him to the St. Louis Blues. And he plays there, looks so awkward in a Blues uniform, didn't really fit into what they were trying to do, retires, and then works in the front office. And I had just wished that he had done that with the Devils because, kids growing up that didn't see them play, maybe started following hockey that year. You ask them what team Brodeur played for, they're going to say the Blues, and that hurts because he was it's weird. But if you look, let's say Lundqvist plays 2 or 3 more years, hypothetically, I think he's done, but let's say he plays. You have kids getting into hockey now. They're only going to remember Lundqvist for whatever team he joins now. And it's like you missed one of the greatest goaltenders of all time.
Yep.
And
I really don't think he's done. Like, I really think he's going to keep playing. And that's the type of competitor he is. He doesn't want to go out like that. The year he wants to go out even if he's a backup, he wants to play better. To me, it's going to be tough. I want to see him take not a front office job, maybe help out Benoit Lair and eventually take over for Benoit Lair. Because you're telling me if the Rangers wind up winning a Stanley Cup in like a couple of years from now, and he's a goalie coach and he gets a ring because he's part of the team, you put him on the float, lifting a cup, regardless of whether he's the one that was playing or not, Rangers fans are going to go crazy.
He should just come back when that happens, but he might be in a wheelchair when that happens, Brendan. Like
he's not that
40...
old.
No, I'm saying it might not happen for another 40 years.
No, it's happening soon. You see the roster they're putting out there? Everyone's trembling right now. Alexei Lafreniere. This is going to be a good team, but that's the problem is that the whole Metro is going to be good. If the Flyers wind up getting Pietrangelo.
I don't want to talk about it.
This is crazy, but one goaltender that should definitely retire that probably won't and said that someone's going to have to tell me I can't play anymore is Jimmy Howard. And somebody should tell him that because last year he went 2-23-2 with a 420 goals against average and an 882 save percentage. This year, granted, he was on a terrible Detroit team.
Terrible is such an understatement. It's not even funny.
But so was Jonathan Bernier, and his numbers weren't that bad. I don't think anyone's numbers.
Their numbers weren't. His numbers weren't terrible. It was the fact that both of them had 0 wins. I mean, not 0, obviously, but 2. Howard had 2 wins, and you can blame the team all you want. You got to fight and get more wins than that. Come on, buddy.
2 wins in 27 starts. Okay, is
all right. Let me just tell you. Let me just tell you right now how many Detroit finished the year, and they finished with under 40 points. They had 39 points.
They're terrible.
In total, they won 17 games, and they lost, including overtime, they lost 54.
Yeah, but Jonathan Bernier had a 295 and a 907 on
that
same team.
Howard was terrible. He was terrible. And when Bernier came over, you sort of knew, all right, at most, they were splitting time. And then Bernier didn't play great, but the team's not good. The team is a complete rebuild. They had so many glory years. I think it was 25 years in a row of making the playoffs or something along there. Yeah. I mean, they had fantastic players: Zetterberg, Lidstrom, Datsuk, Howard when Howard was in his prime, he was unreal, and he shows glimpses every now and again. But this year, he just forgot to show up, and he can say all he wants. Someone's gonna have to tell me I can't play anymore. But the problem is, no one's gonna contact him. So is that the same thing as telling me he can't play?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if someone does, though. I mean, if you look at a guy saying that means he's got confidence in his game. Obviously, we've seen Jimmy Howard play well before. You put him in a backup role with a better defense, you don't think he bounces back. I think just the change of scenery helps him a bit. But at the same time, no, he's not making big money. There's no way somebody offers him a starting job. So does he want to get relegated to a backup role, or do you want to go out on your own terms? I mean, it depends who offers him.
I'm thinking that he would have to go to a team that has a young netminder, or like a team like San Jose to give him a shot.
Edmonton.
Well, Edmonton becomes the number 1 starter. I mean, I know Mikko Koskinen hasn't been terrible, but he's just not good. He's not good. He's not worth the money they're paying for him. He's not terrible, but he's not. For Edmonton to win a cup, they need honestly, they need to draft a goalie and have some stud like Carter Hart coming.
Well, Koskinen's going to start. So you bring in Howard, Howard can help him a little bit. He's a veteran. He's seen a lot of things. Be your backup. And who knows? He can catch fire. And then if Koskinen struggles, he can – I don't know. But Edmonton,
they tried that, though. They tried that with Mike Smith. It didn't work.
I know.
It didn't work. And now Talbot looked terrible in the round against Dallas.
They're the team that always tries it. So why wouldn't they try it again? You never know. I mean, we have another to go to commercial.
Yeah, we do. But one more thing. I'm looking at a team like I'm thinking maybe if Brian Elliott had a great year for the Flyers, so it's tough. Where does Howard fit in as a backup? That's the thing is you have to look at backup. Maybe
he could go to Philly.
I'm thinking that, but I don't know. I don't think Elliott's contract. I'm not sure what
his contract's over.
There he goes.
I don't know if they might want to re-sign him because he was good. I don't know if they have prospects, but Carter Hart's going to play 65 games.
Oh, if he goes to the Metro and the Islanders get to play against Howard and light him up. I mean,
he plays
honestly,
well against the Rangers.
I was gonna say he probably is gonna shut that door, but we do have to go to a commercial break.
Yeah, well, when we do come back from the commercial break, we have Mike Scudiero of the Yapping Yankees podcast joining us. We'll talk Yankees baseball. They got dominated the last 2 games, but tonight they bounced back, a big win against the Toronto Blue Jays, and we'll dive into that with him in just a moment. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave. But unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the BS Sports Show. So we have an interview to get to in just a little bit. It's about the Yankees, and the Yankees just finished off the Toronto Blue Jays 12-1. Obviously, a big bounce-back win, much needed after their 2-game losing streak after a 10-game winning streak. So we were wondering, and we're going to ask Mike about what he thinks, which team we should expect come postseason time. But if this result holds and the Twins lose to the Tigers, which they are right now 3-2, they are 1 game back in the win column of the Minnesota Twins, excuse me. And that 4th seed becomes pivotal, especially if the MLB doesn't do a bubble, something we'll talk about later on in the show. So a lot of standings watching going on. And after this win, there's only 5 games left of the 2020 MLB season for the New York Yankees.
Finally, since we started the show, I know actually how much time's left in the MLB season. I keep saying like, oh yeah, there's 2 weeks left. 1 week, I think I was off every time I've said it.
Of course.
But now we know there's only a few, 5, right? You said 5?
5 games, not weeks.
5 games left, and a great bounce back game. I mean, when you get, what was the score yesterday? They lost
11-5.
They lose 10-2 on Sunday. They lose 11-5 yesterday, and they come back with a 12-1 win. This has been the wackiest last couple of weeks I've seen on base. It's so up and down. It's very crazy. They got healthy. They go on the win streak. That's great. But then it's not even, I feel like they don't lose close games anymore. It's either they're blowing teams out or they're blowing them out. And for me, that's not a good thing.
I don't like it either.
I want to see them win those 3-2 games, those 4-2 games now. Yes, you don't want it to be that close. You want to kill teams. Great, go kill teams. But in the playoffs, you're not facing a number 4, number 5 starting pitching rotation. You're not going to face those. You're not facing the Red Sox, who have been terrible. So I think that this is a good thing the Yankees have done. Obviously, it's put them back in a higher playoff seed than they were. They're probably going to make the playoffs anyway, but it was coming pretty close to them not doing so.
At one point, yep.
Yeah, but you look at it, and it's just they're getting healthy. Judge does not have a home run yet, correct? Since returning.
No.
You want to get these guys that are coming back. Yes, he came through with a big hit tonight, a couple of hits. And you just hope that maybe he could help turn a page and be more consistent. Again, coming back after being hurt for a long time, you need the time, and they had the time, but it's not to an extent of 2 or 3 weeks being back fully healthy, swinging a bat every day the way you want him to. I think this is a great test, and Mike is here now, so we're going to have Mike join us from the Yapping Yanks podcast. What's up, Mike? How are you doing today? Oh, he's connecting to audio. Hold on 1 second. Mike, can you hear us?
I can.
Awesome. This is Mike of the Yapping Yanks podcast. Thanks for coming on today to talk some Yankees baseball.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
So we'll start off right now. Dominant win tonight, back-to-back absolutely brutal losses. Which Yankee team do you expect that we're going to see in the playoffs? The team that won on the 10-game winning streak, or the team that was outscored 22-7 over the last 2 games prior to tonight? What do you think we're going to see?
I think we'll see the 10-game winning streak Yankees, because I just think this team has been unbelievably resurgent since that winning streak. I really do think they absolutely hit rock bottom when they hit that losing streak, because for a lot of days, they just looked like they forgot how to play baseball. This is just as simple as that. And I think they've bounced back very nicely from that. I think just the last couple of days, yesterday, I believe, was a game you obviously want to win because you are still battling for home field against the Twins. But But I think yesterday, starting Michael King and then, bringing guys like Nick Nelson, it looked like it wasn't really a game they were like too intent on just dominating yesterday. But I had a feeling with Garrett Cole on the mound today, I just had a feeling they would bounce back. And I don't think the last 2 days on Sunday, I think Davey was due for a bad start because Davey had been doing so great. And I think the Yankees overall were due to lose eventually. And then yesterday, I don't know, it just didn't really have a good vibe yesterday's game. But today gets them back on track, and I do think we see the hot Yankees going into the playoffs.
Before we get to the next question, we talked on Twitter about Aaron Hicks in the outfield, and he drops a ball between him and Judge, and we spoke about it. What do you think? Does Hicks need glasses, or it's just he can't see through the sun or the lights? Because it's been happening more and more this season where Aaron Hicks just looks completely confused in the center field. And yeah, granted, we've seen Gardner make some errors too, which is very not like him. But what do you think? You think it's just coincidence that Hicks has really lost the ball a bunch of times this season? Because as much as he is a threat offensively, but his numbers haven't been great, he needs to be a defensive player, not a liability in the outfield.
Yeah, and I thought I would bring that up because it is something that, like you guys, I have observed, and it was surprising to me because, like you say, his defense is usually considered a strength of his. I've just noticed that it seems like he's not putting necessarily the same effort into outfielding like he usually does in past seasons. His arm looks pretty good. I don't really think there's much wrong with his arm. And if anything, with his defense, I would think that would be the problem because of his Tommy John. He might want to be careful, but that's not even the problem. It just looks like he's not tracking fly balls like he usually does. He's not taking good routes. He's not putting in effort when the ball does land. It seems like he's being very lackadaisical, which I never really knew Hicks to be that in the past. So when I've been observing that throughout this year, it was just surprising to me. So I just thought I'd mention it. As far as what the problem could it be just the fact that it's 2020 and he might just not be putting in the same effort? I don't know. Could it be the lights in certain stadiums? They have said the lights in the Buffalo ballpark are not great. It's tough to see the ball sometimes, but it's been happening in other places other than just Buffalo. So I don't think it's a Buffalo problem. But I don't know what it could be. Maybe he's just not seeing the ball as well this year. Maybe he's regressing, or maybe it's just because it's the season it is. But regardless of what it could be, I noticed there's been a regression in his defense, which is surprising to me, and I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you touched on this after the first question with Devi Garcia. And right now it's Cole and Tanaka are the 1-2 come postseason time, but the third spot's up for grabs between Devi and J.A. Happ, who's looked very good over his last several starts. So if you had a pick right now, who are you going in that game 3?
You see, before Sunday, and I'm going to look beyond Sunday because everyone's due for a bad start every now and again, and I'd rather Davey get that start out of his system on Sunday rather than in the playoffs. But if J Happ didn't go on this winning streak, or this hot streak with pitching, it would be a much easier answer. Right now, because of experience and the hot streak that he's on, it really does seem like them skipping over his spot in the rotation has awakened something in him. I'd probably go with Happ right now. And that's probably what the Yankees are going to go with too, because they tend to go with experience a bit more. But I definitely still put Davey in the rotation. There's no question. It also depends on matchups too. Like if you're facing a Twins lineup that has a ton of righties in it, I mean, the Yankees are so analytical, so they could go down this route too. They could say, oh, it might be better off with the righty Davy Garcia on the mound against a mostly righty Twins lineup, or that might not matter to them. I don't know, but Happ has definitely been doing good. I believe the number was 194 ERA in his last 6 starts. He's been great. So because of experience, I think experience always gives a little bit more of an edge. So I probably give it to Happ right now, but it also depends on, again, the situation with the Twins lineup and a lot of other situations if you go into a game 3. But at this moment, I probably give it to Happ. And a couple of weeks ago, that probably would not have been my answer.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that answer. And at the same time, they've touched on it a couple of times on the Yankees broadcast about just how many games in a row they're going to have to be playing if they keep advancing. So I think you're going to end up seeing both of them get starts. Game 3, it doesn't really matter. Although if they do make a game 3 in that first series, it's a do or die. So very interesting scenario that could pan out. But I agree. I think Happ has the edge right now.
Didn't Happ do well in the playoffs last year? when he played? He did well in the second half. I'm pretty sure he had a good second half, though. And I mean, everyone in
his first year, yes.
First year, maybe that's something.
Yeah, when they acquired him in 2018, his second half was killer. I think his ERA was only like 2.50 in the second half.
It was crazy.
He had 7 of his 8 starts for wins, I believe. So that's the type of Hap we're seeing right now. And if they can get that in the postseason, that's a huge push.
And we talk about it too. It's about winning. You want to go into the playoffs on a winning streak, whether it be the team or the player. If Hap, I mean, yes, he hasn't won a lot of games. I think he has 2 no decisions or whatever the case may be, but he's been electric. So I think going into the playoffs, and he continues this in his last, what is 1 start left, then I think you have to go with him, regardless of who is in the Twins lineup. But we'll get to the next question here. Adam Ottavino has been pitched in big spots, and more recently than not, he does not come through. We saw in the playoffs last year, he did not. How much faith do you have in him in a big situation to come in and close the door, and maybe in a do or die game 3 or whatever the case may be in the playoffs?
I think you still have to go with him. I mean, I'm not as confident in him right now as I have been in past years, but right now I think if the situation were to come, you still have to give him it, because that's what he was brought in here for. I mean, Ottavino was brought in to be one of the big arms in that pen, and I still consider him to be that. He had a scoreless 9th inning, if that means anything to you, with the team up 12-1. I don't know. Listen, he struggled a little bit this year, and I think if anybody's struggling this year, I'm willing to be a bit more lenient because of the type of season it is. But right now, because of the way Ottavino, we brought him in here to come into those big spots and get big pitches across the plate and get people out. So I still trust him to do that, because at the end of the day, he still has a slider that moves like a frisbee, and he still has a really. He has a 2-seam fastball like almost none I've ever seen. The guy, the thing with Adam Ottavino is that right when he has it or doesn't have it based on how the pitches move, because it's kind of tough when it comes to control with him, because I don't even think he has complete control over where his pitches go because they move so damn much. So I still trust him though, because he's still, even when he struggles, his pitches are still filthy. And he's brought in here to get the job done, and I think he is. He's still one of those big forearms at the back end. So I trust him.
If you trust him, we trust him. So that was a convincing argument there.
I mean, the thing I look towards most is his big game performance in the 80 ERA last year in the postseason. So I'm skeptical, but like you said, his pitches move so much that if he is on, he's one of the best that there is, and they got to hope he is on. But somebody that has been hot recently is Clint Frazier. So what do you think they should do with him, especially in the playoffs, just in case you did everything we have asked, but there's no room for him in the postseason. You know what I mean? So it's tough, because do you put him in left field over Gardner and lose? I still believe Gardner's the better defensive outfielder. I think what they're going to wind up doing is putting him out there and then defensive replacement later on. But what would you do with Clint Frazier?
Clinton's got to be out there. He has to be.
I agree.
Without, there's 3 guys that I think without them, the Yankees would not be where they are right now. And even going back to last year when it comes to one of these names, DJ, Voit, and Clint. Those are the 3 names. If you had to pick them, the Yankees would not be where they are right now without any of those 3 guys. Clint Frazier's transformation, I want to call it, in 2020 is not only the most 2020 thing of all time, but it is so amazing to see. Clint has made such a fan out of me. I was always indifferent towards him in the past because I really loved his ability to hit, because his hitting was never the issue.
Yeah.
But I didn't like how he was in the clubhouse, his personality, and of course we all know his abysmal defensive struggles in the past. But I've always been a fan of his hitting, so I've always been indifferent towards him. But what he's proven that's possible out of not only an athlete, but a person within less than a year, really, because he was still acting the way he was last year until the end of the year. And it's only September right now. And the whole entire year that he's been here, he's been a new person. Personality-wise, he's been supportive of the team. He always gives these great answers that are most of the time very selfless, which was never the case in the past. He's always wanted to do just what's best for the team. I want to do this for the team. He sounds like much more of a leader now. He brought over his excellent hitting that he's always had, so that hasn't changed. And his defense, which I never thought it was possible to improve on defense that much, let alone within a year that much. I never even thought that was possible. So Clint has really impressed me this year. Gameplay wise, I think he has it over Gardner, although I have a lot of respect for Gardner. But I think he definitely has a position over Gardy this year, and definitely over Topman. Topman is getting beat on 90-mile-an-hour meatballs right down the middle right now. It's just not convenient for a playoff spot. So, yeah, I got to give it to Clint. The Yankees are not where they are right now without him. I got to give it to him.
With Clint Frazier, I don't know if this plays a part, but the fact that this virus hit and he decides, okay, I'm going to wear a mask, do you think it maybe opened his eyes to, being just a better teammate, a better person, looking out for everyone else? Because it seems to me that, he's wearing the mask. He's doing it. He said he wanted to do it to be a leader in, for young people to wear masks and all that stuff. But I think it really has affected and shown the growth in not just his ability. Obviously, we've seen what he's doing in the field and hitting. But again, as a person, he's very selfless. I think maybe this virus played a part into his mental game.
It could have been. That could definitely be it. He's definitely been a huge role model for people. And regardless of him taking his hitting over like he has in the past and his defense improving, again, just his overall transformation and how he is as a person is a huge part of that. Again, I didn't know it was possible to change as much as he has within much less than a year. His transformation has been nothing short of remarkable, and he's made a big time fan out of me from somebody who's just like, yeah, Clint is fine, whatever. Now he's made a big fan out of me, and I think it started off well, as you said, with him trying to be a role model to wear the mask. He's carried that through the entire season. It's incredible what he's done, what he's transformed into, how big of a role he's had with this team, and just how much he's changed. It's for anybody just trying to change in general in life. Clint Frazier really is just a fine example that it is possible. And not only is it possible, but if you work hard enough in a short window too, sometimes.
Yeah. So before we let you go, one more question for you. Will Aaron Judge hit a home run before this regular season comes to a close?
Yes, I'm sure he will. He seems to be heating up at the right time. He had 3 hits tonight. I think we'll be seeing a home run out of the big man before the season ends. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thank you for joining us. This is Mike.
Thank you, man.
Of the Yapping Yanks podcast. Definitely give him a look. We'll give you guys a shout out after the show. Great talking to you. We'll hope to see you on the show again in the playoffs.
Guys, it was an honor being here. Thank you so much for having me. Awesome talking to you both.
No problem. Take it easy, man.
Thank you.
He knows his stuff.
He does. And the last question, you said, will Aaron Judge hit a home run? I know we put a Twitter poll out there as well, but I believe that the Yankees scored 12 runs tonight without hitting a home run.
What?
Which
that doesn't
to me is mind-boggling. And
is that true?
I think it's true because I know Higashioka had one that was called a home run then ruled a double. So I want to say that they scored 12 runs tonight without hitting a home run. Which, if that's the case, that is a huge thing for the Yankees because most of the time it's home run or bust, and that's been their problem in the postseason. So if they can score 12 runs with all singles and doubles and a triple from Hicks. And by the way, Luke Voit, DJ LeMahieu, and Clint Frazier all 0 for 4 in a 12-run performance. That's scary.
It's called depth, Brendan.
Well, let's hope that depth stays.
They did not hit out. They did not.
There you go.
Wow. And Hicks had a stolen base.
Tumbling to second base is Aaron Hicks, the most athletic person I've ever seen. And but listen, the home run was a huge part of their 10-game win streak. Obviously got snapped by the Boston Red Sox, but they outscored the same Toronto team 43-15 in a 4-game set. It was the most powerful I've ever seen a team look. They had that 5 home run inning, 19 home runs in 3 games, which was an MLB record. Just an absolute walloping that was needed because the way that Toronto beat them up in Buffalo the week before that, they come in there thinking, okay, I know the Yankees are hot, but we took care of them. And they just absolutely showed them why the Yankees were the favorite to win the American League before the season started, and they're starting to regain some of that steam.
As much as I love to see the home run ball, though, we just know in the back of our minds that come playoff time, you can't rely on the home run ball. And tonight's this is a win that is huge. Like you said, great pickup on that. 0 home runs. Their top 3 players in the lineup go 0 for, they didn't get a hit at all?
Well, it wasn't the top 3, but their top 3 hitters of late, each one
of late. That's what I meant. And they still find a way to get it done. Judge, though, 3 hits. He had a great performance tonight. Garrett Cole was Garrett Cole. He did give up a home run, but He's done that this year, though, and survives more often than not. So glad to see that he's going to hopefully go into this playoff on a bit of a very good stretch after really struggling for a couple of starts.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been a lot of fun to watch them during that 10-game win streak. And then, of course, the little bit of doubt creeps in, which we talked about with Mike. And now they answer that tonight. And like you said earlier, they've been a lot of blowouts, not a lot of close games. I want to see them play close games. We mentioned Ottavino, his struggles in these big games. I don't trust him going into the postseason where his only time pitching is in these lopsided affairs. I want to see him come into the 7th inning in a 3-2 game where he has to buckle down. Like, that's where I think he's going to build it up. We know that Britton can do it. Chapman scares the hell out of me all the time.
Chapman, though, is another guy that we really haven't seen get into those tight games.
I know, but I trust him more than we've seen him do it before, right? Obviously, he gave up that home run to Altuve last year, but he does the job, okay? For Ottavino, when he was with Colorado having that breakthrough season, he still struggled a little bit in the postseason. He came here last season amazing. I mean, not awful. He had a 1.94 ERA, and then he comes to the postseason, and boom, looks like crap. So I don't know which one we're going to get. I'm hoping for the Yankees' sake it's the good one, because last year when he struggled, Tommy Kahnle came in, and they don't have him now because of Tommy John. But we have a lot more baseball to talk about when we come back from this commercial break. We're going to dive into the standings. We're going to talk about the Mets and just the bubble situation with Rob Manfred and how the MLB players are not really buying into it. So stay with us for the last 30 minutes of the BS Sports Show after this.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. Feedthepig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. so you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to the BS Sports Show, everybody, and we're going to do a quick little standings update around the MLB. And you know, it doesn't seem like it's time to be watching the standings just 55 games into a season, but in a 60-game season, you have to be monitoring what's happening. And after the Yankees' 10-game win streak, they skyrocketed up to 5th, and they're battling the Minnesota Twins, who we told you are in a close game with the Detroit Tigers. They're still trailing 3-2 in the bottom of the 8th. And the Tampa Bay Rays lost tonight. They're 36-20. They still have the best record, but the White Sox are hot on their heels at 34-21. That AL Central is pretty good. Oakland 33-20. So there's a lot of good teams in the AL. You look at the NL, and that bottom half of that American and a National League playoff picture is scary to think that those guys are going to be in the playoffs. You got the Miami Marlins at 28-27, the Cincinnati Reds at 28-28, the Brewers at 27-27. The Giants and Phillies are both chasing them at below 500. So the bottom of the National League is just a disaster, especially when you look at the American League.
I mean, don't forget about the Mets.
They're out of it.
Yeah, they're out of it, which we'll get to right now. Just so, again, I feel like we say this every time. Grab the tissues. You know, they made it a little enticing that they might find a way to get into the playoffs, but it's just not gonna happen. They did win though, Brendan, tonight. They won.
They beat the Rays.
They beat the Rays, which is, you know, it's always good for the Yankees. What'd they win tonight? They won 5-2. Peter Alonso hit a home run, so that's a good sign. But again, this season's over, and it's a tough pill to swallow. But what are they right now? How many games back, Brendan? Before tonight, I know they were 4 games back of the second wild card spot before tonight's game.
Well, they're 3 games back of Miami, so I would say 2 games back of the final wild card spot. But it's going to be tough because these other teams are.
Again, it's not even about the amount of games back they are. I know there's 5 games to go, but they have to jump like 7 teams for it to happen. Let's say the Mets won out. The odds of the teams in front of them that 5 of the 7 lose, it's just not realistic. It's not a spot you really want to be in. And I guess the biggest thing for the Mets this year was the lack of rotation depth. You know, Syndergaard goes down, Stroman opts out, Porcello was terrible. I mean, it was DeGrom or not. We're going to spend a lot of time right now talking about DeGrom because, again, he has an incredible season yet again. He's going for his 3rd Cy Young in a row. We'll get to the Cy Young race in just a second, but he is on the year. He is 4-2 with a 2.14 ERA, 94 Ks in 63 innings. The team is 12-2 over his last 14 starts. He hasn't won 12. The team is 12-2, which means that does something because he's giving them a chance to win, which is something the Mets desperately need. And they've won. That was before his start on Monday, excuse me. But 12-2 is not a bad record when your ace is on the mound. But the fact is that he's not getting the wins because it's like when they see DeGrom, they go, oh, no bats tonight. We'll put our face masks over our eyes and we'll just go. It's terrible. It's comical at this point because it's just the fact that they just don't score runs for him. I don't understand is it a confidence swing where you think you only need one if you have DeGrom on the mound and you just can't do that? I don't know it's just is it a coincidence, Brendan? I think it's a coincidence.
I mean, DeGrom usually faces the other team's best pitcher.
Yes.
So you have that, but it's starting to look like DeGrom winning the Cy Young has become the Mets World Series, right? I mean, there's nothing else to root for, so all Mets fans vote for that, and rightfully so. I mean, this guy is an absolute stud on the mound. And listen, I was thinking in my head, hypothetically, that if he was going to get dealt, what would the Yankees give up? And not a real trade. And I'd give up Severino in a heartbeat.
I honestly completely forgot about Severino. I'd give up Andujar.
I'd give up a lot to get that guy. A lot. He's that good. And I think any team would. And if the Mets don't find a way to win, I know they got Steve Cohen coming in who's going to hopefully buy a couple of pieces that are going to help them. But
we'll wait and see. No Met fan should believe, Steve Cohen comes in, he's got the money, he wants to spend it. That's fine. Great for him to be saying that. Until the Mets see the player on the field producing the way, because, Judd Lowry, great signing, right? Coming off a great year. Where is he now? And obviously that's a little different because he's Brody's client. So is there a little bit of insider stuff? Yes, there definitely was for him to get that deal and come to the Mets, and that didn't work out. And you look at, Diaz comes over, great player. Terrible. It's tough, but until let's say the Mets go and get JT Realmuto, right? He comes over until he bats and plays very well in the first couple of games. Don't believe anything until it happens because I don't want to see my Met fans, my friends. Yes, this is going to be the same talk. This is going to be the year. I can't wait. It's going to be great. They got Realmuto. They got a rotation back. It's going to be great. Week into the season, everyone's hurt. Bad hitting. I don't want it to happen. I feel bad for Met fans, but until it actually happens, let's not talk. There's no point in talking, man. Like you said,
it's a similar situation to Mike Trout, correct?
Yes.
Angels aren't going to move him, but the best bet to rebuild and to build a fully competitive roster would be to move him. And the Mets are not going to move DeGrom because they want to build around him. But the quickest way to retool right now, you can get a lot for him. And I think that hopefully Cohen winds up bringing in pieces because when Syndergaard comes back from injury, right, their rotation gets a little better. I don't know where Stroman's going to go. He might re-sign, and then you have a great top three if that happens. But their offense has been okay. Dom Smith has been a diamond in the rough. You add Realmuto potentially to that. They have a good team. They always have a good team on paper at the start. We'll see what happens. But let's dive into the NL Cy Young race. And you sent me a stat about Jacob deGrom compared to Trevor Bauer that I want you to read because it's honestly mind-numbing how wild this stat is.
Before we get to that stat, real quick, last night in the 4-1 loss to the Rays, deGrom allowed 2. He struck out 14. Mets in the 3 consecutive games struck out 10 or more batters. Porcello and Peterson were part of that.
That's pretty nuts.
For the first time, though, in a franchise that had some outstanding pitching, it's a little surprising, but regardless.
They used to pitch to more contact, though.
That's true. All right, let's go to this fact. Trevor Bauer, games versus an opponent with an OPS plus above 100. Trevor Bauer's faced one team with that. deGrom's games versus opponents with an OPS plus below 100, 1.
I mean, it just shows the competition that he's facing is so much more superior. And 100 is the league average, by the way. So OPS plus takes your OPS and regulates it based on your ballpark. So at Yankee Stadium, balls hit to right field would have less value than other places. So it's an even metric for everybody. And the fact that deGrom faces that many good teams compared to how many poor teams Bauer faces, and Bauer's one of the main horses in this race with him. I mean, his numbers aren't what he did last year. And I personally think that Max Fried's going to win just because of how good he's been. But for deGrom, man, he faces the best. He's facing the best pitcher every night, and he knows full well that bullpen shaky. He's got to go as far as he can for them to get that win.
He does.
And he does every single game.
He doesn't get hurt. He did get hurt a couple of starts, but he was fine. He just left the game. It's just crazy that, you look at it in hockey. We talk about awards. It's like, well, look at what's around him. Look at the competition. Like a goalie, is he facing? I know my rookie year in college, I lost out to a goalie who faced 250 less shots than I faced for rookie year goaltending. 250 less shots. They didn't obviously consider that when they gave the other guy an award, which I'm going to be salty with until I die. But you look at this race and Fried's been unreal. 7-0, 1.96 ERA, 50 Ks. He was hurt though. He's just coming back. He hasn't pitched in nearly as many innings as DeGrom has.
That'll
Trevor
hurt
Bauer, 4-4. I mean, we say the record win-loss means nothing because DeGrom's won it the last 2 years and he doesn't get anything. But 4-4 for Bauer, 1.80 ERA, 88 Ks. Yu Darvish, he's having a good year. 7-3, 2.22 ERA, 88 Ks. And Lamet, I'm pretty sure is a rookie.
He is on San Diego. Yep.
He was supposed to be a rookie last year, but got hurt and didn't play. I know that because I had him in my fantasy team. 3-1, 2.07 ERA, 89 Ks.
It's a big race, man. It's a 5-horse race, and all 5 of these guys have legitimate cases.
I think DeGrom just has the best case. That last stat shows you. I mean, yes, you would have to go through and look at everyone and their OPS plus, but the fact that it's just crazy. Continue.
He won 2 straight already, so this would be his 3rd. So I feel like to win the 3rd, especially when there's 4 other guys that have a good case for it, you have to have an exceptional year. And he's had a great year with a 2.14. There's 2 guys with a lower one, 3 guys with a lower one. I personally think that they're going to pick somebody else just because DeGrom's been so good the last 2 that the bar he set for his own Cy Young is so high that in a shortened season, somebody like a Fried or a Yu Darvish, even for the Cubs with the 7-3, and like the wins this year mean something more because in 60 games, you're only getting so many starts. So to win that many starts, that's impressive. That's why Shane Bieber has a case in the AL to win the Cy Young and MVP, because if he wins 12 games this year, that's 12 out of 60 games that he's won for his team. That holds a lot more value.
I mean, you look at it, and the question is, though, did Fried play enough? That's really what it was. He didn't have he had the record, great record, but did he play enough to get it? Because you look at other guys that were healthy, that played the whole year. Like you said, they win, 12 out of 60? I mean, that's a lot of wins. And again, in a shortened season. But I'm trying to think back. The last pitcher to win 3 in a row, I want to say it was Randy Johnson. But
I'm not going to give an answer.
Yeah, don't give an answer. I think it's Randy Johnson. I'll stick with that. But it doesn't happen often. There's very few people that have been able to do that. And I think, again, the Mets need this. It's their World Series as fans. They need something to be able to talk about and cherish, because if DeGrom, again, a phenomenal year, doesn't win it, where the Mets, besides Steve Cohen, this year was just a complete dud.
Yeah.
And it's obviously the league doesn't care about what Mets fans feel like. Clearly, the players didn't either, because some players that were brought in didn't do absolutely anything. And, it's crazy what's happened with the Mets organization, but hopefully it's going in the right direction, it seems like.
Yeah, so I have to correct myself, because the Indians did go on a little bit of a struggle. So Shane Bieber only has 8 wins this year. He's 8-1. But he also has a 1.74 ERA. And you're talking about, you look at the NL race, correct?
Yeah,
look at the highs of the strikeouts. I think it's DeGrom at 94. He's got 112 strikeouts this year.
How many innings?
Shane Bieber.
In
72 innings.
Wow.
I mean, I'm trying to find it right now. His strikeout per 9 is 13.9. 13.9 Ks per 9 innings. I mean, his season, like, this is why we're only talking about the NL Cy Young race, because the AL doesn't have one. It's Shane Bieber.
Yeah. Give it to him right now.
I've never seen a pitcher just at performance after performance, just straight domination. And I know that there's a stat of he's the fastest ahead of Strasburg, Cole, and one other pitcher to get to 100 Ks in a certain amount of innings. His strikeout per 9 for a starter might be close to setting a record. I mean, it's just unreal what he's doing this year. 13.9 Ks for a starter.
Sounds like Scherzer numbers.
It's ahead of Scherzer right now.
No, I know. Sure, yeah, but I'm saying, though, in general, like, if you said his stat line, I would guess Scherzer. Like, when Scherzer was good, that's the kind of pitcher that Bieber has become. And, they traded Trevor Bauer. It's like, oh, God, who's going to be – and then Bieber was like, oh, it'll be me. I'm here.
They got rid of Corey Kluber. People are like, where they're going to go.
Clevenger's gone.
That's how good he is.
Yeah,
First
I
of
know.
all, I don't know this team. The fact that they just churn out pitchers,
Yeah.
is unreal because they got rid of Clevenger this year, they got rid of Kluber in the offseason, and Bauer last year.
And Carrasco,
Those are
Carrasco
three
hasn't been
legitimate
the
pitchers.
same, right? Carrasco hasn't been the
He's
same.
been good, but
yeah.
that's tough. I mean, that's tough
With
to come
cancer,
back.
yeah. I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying he hasn't been as good.
I mean, that team, but they got all these young arms and Plesac and.
Well, speaking of Plesac, he had a boo-boo earlier in the year with the whole COVID thing.
Well, yeah.
But you look at Cleveland, though.
Carrasco is a 2.9 ERA.
Oh, so he has been pretty good. But you look at Cleveland's third in the division.
Well, they had the Yankees had that losing streak. They did the same thing.
But it's crazy. A central division where before this year you would say, all right, it's between Minnesota and Cleveland and Chicago White Sox. Like, you can't forget about us. I mean, they're going to be good for they're finally back to being competitive, which is great for baseball. Yeah, they are. They don't really have a bona fide ace. Like Giolito to me isn't an ace pitcher yet. He might get there, but
coming into that though.
But their rotation's still strong. Like it's not like they
have Michael Kopech who throws like 102. He took this year off.
Yes, he did. That really hurt. Well, it didn't really hurt them, but imagine having him.
To me, I don't watch the White Sox often, so I don't want to say anything that I'm going to get called out on. But they don't have big names outside of their prospects and the people that But that bullpen come postseason time, will it be able to hold up? That to me becomes the only question. They don't have anybody that's proven. Obviously, being on the White Sox, they haven't had to do it yet and under that much scrutiny. No fans definitely helps, but who can come in and face a Yankees team or a Twins lineup, that the Rays lineup, and get that out in the 8th or 9th inning? Like that becomes a big component of the playoffs.
It'll be interesting to see definitely a young team finally making their way to a postseason, and then we'll see how it goes. I mean, if they lose out, this shortened season, as much as any team wants to win it, which we'll get to in a second about the bubble, it's seeing what you have. There was no minor league thing. If the White Sox get eliminated in the first round, it is what it is. It's a shortened season. They're young. We'll see how it goes. It's only 3 games. It's it's different.
Well, you know who their first round opponent is right now, if it started today?
Would it be the New York Yankees?
It would be the Houston Astros.
Oh, Jesus.
So no Verlander there, but that's still an Astros team that they have the postseason experience. No garbage cans, which helps.
I mean, for sanitary purposes, they should have them. No fan.
It's close. They've played more games than Oakland. Oakland's 33-20. They're 34-21. So if Oakland loses,
Oakland had a bad loss where we talked about last week with Chapman going down and stuff like that. So it's gonna be interesting.
They're hovering. The Yankees are too far ahead of the Astros, but they're hovering. If they finish ahead of the Athletics in second, they'll be playing the Indians.
That'll be a fun. I mean, it's all gonna be fun. But let's move on before we have to. 8 minutes to go on the clock. Let's talk about the bubble. Should there be a bubble? Should there not be? The league has a game plan for a bubble, and I'll go through it pretty quickly. You have the NLDS, will be played at Global Life Field, which is where the Texas Rangers play. It's a hitter-friendly park, or Minute Maid Park, which is in Houston, hitter-friendly. ALDS, played at Petco Park, that's San Diego, pitcher-friendly, or Dodgers Park, which is also pitcher-friendly. NLCS will be back at Global Life Field, ALCS, Petco Park, World Series, Global Life Field. The question becomes, what do the players think about this? Aaron Judge spoke out. I'm not going to read his whole quote, but he doesn't like this at all, Brendan. And, as someone who watches the NHL and, all that, I don't really care. Well, yes, I like Aaron Judge as a player, get me wrong, but they have to do what they have to do for safety. The MLB really messed up early in the year with the amount of lackadaisical efforts by teams that, great, you're going to miss your families. Guess what? Watch the NHL just did. I think they had another test of nothing.
Well, they could bring their families with them.
Well, see, yes, but they could do that. But at the same time, some players are like, well, we don't want a bubble. We want to see our families, friends. We want to do this. We want home. And yet the whole thing pretty much is home field advantage.
Yeah, I agree, though. I think that plays a huge part. Just one minor correction. The NLDS and ALDS are going to be played at both stadiums. So they're splitting the games up.
Okay. My apologies.
And then it narrows down. But
gotcha.
The MLB put themselves in a sticky situation with this.
They did.
Because they didn't do a bubble to begin with. So now the players are used to this already. Why do we have to go into a bubble now?
I mean, they've been in a bubble, though. I feel like not a bubble, but they have to stay in their hotel rooms. They have to do this. I know
they'd be on lockdown.
Yeah, they're in lockdown.
And the whole point of the 16-team postseason was that if you finish in the top 4, you have the first series is 3 games at your home ballpark. If you go to a bubble, you just completely voided the whole purpose of why would I risk throwing all my best players now and worry about what seed I get? Like if the Yankees are, why would they care about flip-flopping 5 and 4 for that one for the 3 batting ninth? And no, it's not going to come down to that in their minds, against the Twins. If they're going to a neutral site, it doesn't matter. The Yankees right now want to get that 4 seed because they want that short porch. They want to be able to play in their home ballpark.
Your strengths, yes.
Exactly. So I think that the MLB has put themselves in a very sticky situation, and that if they choose to use this bubble format, they're going to get a lot of slack from the players. And Manfred has made a lot of questionable decisions this year. To me, I don't know how you go to a bubble format after being on the road the whole year.
Well, what I will say about this is, yes, they had a bumpy start with COVID, but you haven't heard about any cases since the Mets. That was the last one, I think, which was 1 or 2 people didn't play. But the problem is, though, in a playoffs, let's say a team tests positive. If you move them into a remote site and do a bubble, that doesn't mean it's going to be COVID-free, because for the NHL returning and the NBA returning, they started in the bubble. Now you're bringing all these germs or whatever it is to these places, and what if one hotel gets infected?
I agree. Like, why not just lock them down in their homes?
That's fair. Or give it, like, I know what the Yankees are on this, on the road. They pack their bags. They're not coming back home until, I don't think they're coming back home until it's the playoffs. I think they're done because they have.
Well, they're on the road, yeah.
Yeah. So they're not coming back home, but why not? I mean, they stay in a hotel by themselves anyway. I don't know why they would go away from that, because, again, the bubble is only good if you start with it.
Yeah. I mean, they're keeping their families quarantined right now, so that if they do have this bubble, the families can come with them. Why not have the families quarantine? The players are quarantining in their hotel, technically. They don't have COVID. They come home at the end of the season. If they're playing in Minnesota, they go to as if it's a regular road game. They're all in lockdown. If they're playing at Yankee Stadium, they go home. They go into lockdown in their homes, only go to the stadium and back. I mean, it's easy to manage. And at this point, that's what you've been doing this whole season. So it's hard to tell players, we didn't want to do the bubble originally, but now we're going to do it, and we're going to switch everything up. And your family's got to stop doing what they're doing to go here. That's a tough ask.
I mean, also, too, is the baseball couldn't do a bubble to start.
It's
too many teams, too long of a season, too much travel, all that. But I feel like now it just doesn't make sense because, again, the bubble is only effective if you start with it. You don't know where everyone traveling to these bubbles could pick it up, and anywhere they go, they could pick it up. Even people that work for the teams or work for broadcasting, I know they haven't really been broadcasting from the games. I know, like, the Yankees staff, they're not in Buffalo right now. They're doing it from Yankee Stadium, which is great. They got a big screen. But, I mean, the last thing before we go is there's a chance that we can see fans back for the playoffs. And I mean, it's all indicative on how COVID-19 happens with a second wave coming, which people are projecting. But let's say Yankee fans want to go to the games, and we're going to be in a bubble. We're not going to be home. Now you're taking away from the fans' experience, when the fans' experience this year has been, you have the cutouts. If I pay for a cutout, I want that there in the postseason. I mean, that's great. You're there for all that. But at the same time, as fans have been longing to get back to the arenas.
Well, they can't go unless it's in the bubble.
Exactly.
So Texas isn't making the playoffs. So if the World Series is at Globe Life Field, their cutouts it doesn't matter. But are fans going to go? Because now if you are Rob Manfred, you say the World Series is here, Texas is allowing fans, we could have 22% capacity. You know full well there's going to be crazy fans for whatever 2 teams are in the World Series that are hopping on planes, and now they're coming to the stadium.
That's exactly.
It just creates mayhem.
First off, those tickets are going to be so expensive. Because it's a once in a I watch from my TV with 0 bathroom line. A water is going to be not $10, and all the food I want if I cook, or maybe just Uber Eats or something like that. But no, it's very interesting of why now. And Bettman, not Bettman. Oh my God, Manfred. He's had a terrible go of things lately. First, not even with COVID, it was the fact of trying to get the game started again. It seemed on both sides. Yes, you have to be angry with the players too, because they were being little selfish babies. And it's been tough since the beginning of the season. And now you're trying to do this. Players aren't going to be happy. If players aren't happy, we're just going to see more feud to go along with this dramatic season. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But the good news is the Yankees are going to be in it. The Mets might get a Cy Young out of it. Might. Alonso did hit a home run, which is great.
Too little, too late.
But I mean, for a baseball season that seemed like it was going to get canceled after the testing, they've survived.
Yep.
And we're going to see some playoff baseball in a little bit over next week or two when the season finally comes to a close.
These playoffs are going to be tougher than usual with the way they have it scheduled. How if your ace starts game 1, he's not going to be able to pitch till the next series because they don't have any days off. It's going to be a grind. And I really think that whatever team comes out, their bullpen's going to be tested. Their rotation's going to have to be sturdy. It's not the usual. You could have 3 guys. There's not going to be any judgment against who wins saying, oh, listen, you didn't really win a World Series. This is going to be legit.
Yeah. So we are out of time here. It's 11 o'clock Eastern. This has been a great episode too. Amazing guests talking. We got St. Louis Blues talking about their whole issues. We got Yankees talk. It's been great. Next week, we'll see you guys. Same time, same day. You should be having a very good guest, so stay tuned. We're working on that. But, I just want to show off, BS Sport. Yeah, they sponsor my, we don't sponsor, but softball team. It's been a lot of fun, though. Thanks for everybody that does tune in. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you guys again next week. Take care, guys.